CIL 650 presents It's Your Money, an up-close and personal look at your finances. Here's your host, Fritz Snyder.
Up in the morning and out to school.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, listeners out there, we are back. And we're talking about your money, more importantly about your money and how to keep it. I'm certified and registered financial planner Fred Snyder, representing Scotia Wealth Management, no longer Scotia McLeod. We've changed the name because we think it's more appropriate. We're in the financial planning business, and that's a very, very important distinction. So we want to make that clear to the public at large. And I've been preaching financial planning forever and a day. I believe that that's the only way to go. I believe the reason people fail financially is lack of a plan. They do not have a written financial plan. And I know there's many people out there right now listening to this show who do not have a financial plan. And that's foolish. Maybe you have a financial plan, but you don't understand it. And maybe you think you have a financial plan, you think it's pretty good, but maybe you're just not 100% sure, and you want to kind of get a second opinion and get it checked out. That's what this show is all about. My mission is to teach people what they need to know to make better financial decisions. That's what it's all about. That's what the show is all about. So I suggest you get yourself a pad of paper, a pencil, take notes. Pretend you're in school, because they didn't do this. I guarantee that they didn't do this when you went to school. And we welcome your calls. We want to share this show with you, our listeners. It's an interactive show, and it's live. This is not a replay today. For 2 hours, I'm sitting here flying solo, no guests, just me, your chance to phone with your questions or comments, whatever you want to say. It's going to be a smorgasbord today. It's going to be a little bit of everything. We're not going to focus on any one particular thing, except for the fact that we're talking about your financial plan and financial planning in general and what that means and what it should mean to most people. So get on the line and give us a call. I'm going to give the numbers out right now. Write them down. Area code 604-280-0650. That's a live call. You're on the air if you make that call. Long distance, 1-877-280-0650. Now, you can log on if you want to see what we look like, www.CIL650.com. If you have a friend or a relative someplace else in Canada that you think should be listening to this show, give them a call. Tell them to log on with their computer. And frankly, it doesn't matter where they are. They could be in New Zealand, for that matter. And if they want to watch this show, listen to this show, it's a webcast. Okay? Now, some people say to me, I'd love to call this show, but I'm shy. I'm reluctant to talk on the air. Well, for these people, we have Frida. Frida's down at the office right now at area code 604-737-3512. If you're calling long distance down there, it's 1-800-661-1495. Why might you call Frida? Maybe you want to make a second opinion, or you want to get a second opinion on your investment portfolio. Maybe you want to get a complimentary written financial plan, no cost, no obligation whatsoever. So if you're one of those people that's out there right now and you don't have a plan, you want to get one, no excuse, it's free. And I don't like to say it's free because that sounds cheap. It's really not cheap. It's about a $3,000 value. So you want a written financial plan, call Frida. You want to get a second opinion on your investment portfolio, call Frida. You want to get a free gift, we've been giving away the Napoleon Hill workbooks. I think we'll continue doing that. Or a will kit. You can have one or the other. If you haven't already received one, just give Frida a call. Once again, 737-3512, long distance, 800-661-1495. Just tuned in. Once again, I'm certified and registered financial planner representing, I keep wanting to say Scotia McLeod. It used to be Scotia McLeod. It's now Scotia Wealth Management. We are in the wealth management business. So if you have a portfolio of securities and you want to get it to become well managed, maybe it's time to make a phone call. So lots of stuff going on in the world right now. This thing with this ISIS is very, very disturbing. Maybe you want to make some comments about that. I did a study not too long ago, and the poverty statistics of the whole globe were absolutely scary. You got over half the people in the world. There's about 6.5 billion people in the world, and over half the people in the world live on less than $1 a day. So can you imagine why so many people are so upset with the status quo and why they're willing to rebel and do all kinds of crazy things? That's why. And even those who live in wealthy countries the numbers aren't so hot there either. Lots of people live below the poverty line. I have clients, I have the good luck, if you want to call it that, or I don't know how you'd categorize it, but I talk to a lot of people. Every day I have at least 4 appointments. So I see 4 financial profiles of people on a daily basis. And I see what they look like. And I see people who have a lot of things in common. Most of them do. For example, one of the key questions that I ask people is this: what is your level of knowledge? Is it low, moderate, or high? 99% of the people always tell me it's low. Well, the most important thing that you can do in the world is to accumulate wealth. Well, can you imagine working for money? You have an income stream coming in, and you'll need to save and invest some of that money, and your knowledge of how to do that is low? Give me a break. You're not going to get there without a lot of help. So one of the things that you need to do is to get some continuing education about wealth. That's the purpose of this show, at least one of them. Okay? So they say that their knowledge level is low. So most of the people have a low level of knowledge. What else do we have in common? We don't shop around for the best prices. How much do you spend a month on groceries? You're listening to this show right now. Can you answer that question? Most of you can't. So what's it cost to live? What should it cost, and what does it cost you? According to Dominion Bureau of Statistics, it costs about $350 a month for every adult in the house. So if you got 4 people in the house, multiply that by 4, that should be the monthly cost of your groceries. And then you got the roof over your head, the house you live in, your residence. What's that cost? Depends on whether you have a mortgage or whether you're paying rent. But that's a pretty expensive proposition. Someone once said that the rent in Vancouver represents one of the highest costs of all. It's terrible. It's crazy. So what does the roof over your head cost? And what should it cost? How much do you spend for insurance? And I'm talking about life insurance, disability insurance, car insurance, life insurance, all forms of insurance. How much do you spend there? Do you know what the numbers are? What are your numbers, your unique set of numbers? And what should they be? And you probably don't know the answer to that. At least most people don't. And I could go on and on and on and on. Most people don't know the rate of return they need to achieve their financial objectives. They don't know when they're going to retire. They don't have any goals that are well laid out and spelled out. Zig Ziglar used to call them a wandering generality. Okay? You gotta be specific about life. You ask people, what do you want to do financially? Well, I want to be rich. Well, what does rich mean? They can't define it. Just mean having a lot of money. Well, what is having a lot of money? Is having $1 million a lot of money? Not these days. The average cost of a house in Vancouver is $1 million. Okay? They haven't taken any steps to look at what the money they spend and if it could be spent better. For example, they may have interest expense. They may have a line of credit on the house and they pay interest expense. Or they may have a mortgage on the house and they pay interest expense. Or they may have a car loan and they pay interest expense. Have you taken any steps? Have you investigated the possibility of making that interest expense tax deductible? Have you ever thought about doing that? Most people haven't. And again, I see this day after day after day. 4 people, 5 people sometimes, every single day. And I have the opportunity to get some idea of what's going on out there. And there's thousands and thousands of people that surround us in all walks of life, and they're a wandering generality when it comes to financial success. They make a lot of money, but they don't keep a lot of money. I've used these statistics many, many, many times, sound like a broken record, but according to the insurance companies, if you take 100 people who start out equal today at the age of 25, let that sink in for a second, start out equal today at the age of 25, 100. By the time they reach age 65, 1 is wealthy. Only 1. Think about that. 1 is wealthy. 4 are well-to-do. Some might consider well-to-do wealthy. So maybe 5, if you put them in that category. 5% of the population. That's getting pretty scary. 1 is rich, 4 are well-to-do, 5 are still working. And some of them are working not because they have to. They don't have to if they don't want to, but they like their job. And that's okay. But 5 are still working. 36, no problems anymore, they're dead. And the remaining 54 are dead broke, dependent on family and state. That's at 65. That's half. Half the people are dead broke at age 65. Now, why in the world did that happen? And I say it's this. They didn't have a financial plan, and they didn't have the knowledge to run the financial plan, and they didn't have a financial planner to help them get there. That's what we're talking about. Now, why does this happen? Blows me away when I think about it. What's the most important thing in the world? Some people say, well, I don't like money. Yeah, really? Huh. Well, I know I've been rich and I've been poor, and I'd rather be rich. And if they say they don't like money, I say they'd lie about other things too. They don't like money maybe because it's the price they have to pay to get the money. You have to deny yourself certain things to accumulate money. You can't spend everything that you earn. And that's what people do. So again, a lot of the people that I talk to have deficits. You add up all their expenses, you add up all their take-home pay, and the expenses exceed the take-home pay. They're broke on payday, and they have to put $200 or $300 or $400. They have to borrow that money either by way of their credit cards or their line of credit. That can't be. So somebody has to sit down with you and crunch the numbers. Somebody has to sit down with you and say, okay, let's take a look at how you're spending your money. Like a psychiatrist. Tell me about how you spend your money. Get them talking. And then, okay, where does this money that you spend come from? That's your income. And you got a nice surplus, so what do you do with the surplus? Just let it sit in the bank and build up? Or do you put it into proper investments? Or if you have a deficit, how are you financing the deficit? Be a good thing to ask the government that. The Canadian government, if you just take them as an example, they owe today over $600 billion. And under Trudeau, that's guaranteed to increase because Trudeau said in his election campaign that he was going to run deficits and use the extra money that he was borrowing to rebuild the bridges and the highways and the infrastructure of Canada. Now, that might be a good thing. Remains to be seen, but it has to be done. So if there's no money to do it, you got to borrow the money to do it. Okay? Because when the bridges start falling down, it's too late. And that's going on all over North America right now. So if you want to get a little tip, a little investment tip, as to a good place to invest, a really good place to invest would be infrastructure. Any companies that build highways and bridges would be a good place to invest because those guys are going to be busy for the next 20 years. What an opportunity. Okay. So when is the last time that you had a second opinion on your investment portfolio? When is the last time that you looked seriously at your investment portfolio and measured it? What is the risk in this portfolio that I have? What is the beta, which means how does it perform when benchmarked against the market itself? What's the beta? What's the alpha? How much did it exceed the expected rate of return? There's an expected rate of return. What was the excess return? That's called alpha. R squared is how accurate are the numbers. That's a way to measure the numbers. It's another ratio. These are all like tests. You go to the doctor gives you a whole bunch of tests. It's much in a similar way here. So you run tests against your portfolio. Like, for example, on alpha, the higher the number, the better. There's a ratio called Sharpe, which measures risk. The higher the number, the better. Now, I'm not trying to confuse people with a whole bunch of technical stuff, and I'm not trying to impress anybody with my knowledge, but what I am trying to say here is there are ways to measure. And Peter Drucker once said, if you can't measure it, you can't manage it. So you have to be able to measure your money in order to be able to manage it, if Drucker was right. And if, for those who don't know who Drucker is, he's considered to be the dean of modern management. So what are your comments? How do you feel about these issues? How can you participate in this show? By making a meaningful phone call. give us a call, 604-280-0650. Long distance, 1-877-280-0650. Log on, www.CIL650.com. And the shy people can call Frida. She's down at the office at area code 604-737-3512. Long distance, 1-800-661-1495. Just tuned in? I'm certified financial planner Fred Snyder, also registered financial planner representing Scotia Wealth Management. Pay attention, that's a new name. We have decided to change our branding because it's more meaningful to talk about financial planning. That's more about what we really do. So what do you need inside a financial plan? I'm going to kind of do the anatomy of a financial plan. So I want you to visualize a 3-ring binder. It doesn't have to be a 3-ring binder, but let's just visualize that. Let's start there. Inside that 3-ring binder, you got 10 dividers. Each divider has a label. The first divider that's in there is goals. So inside that section, you define your goals, whatever they may be. Your hopes, your plans, your dreams, and your ambitions is where it starts, and then you refine your hopes, your plans, your dreams, and your ambitions and make them more specific. So you have a section devoted to goals. You might have some quotes in there from Napoleon Hill's book, Think and Grow Rich, because that's all about goal setting. Okay? One of your goals might be to get more education. And this is how. So this is a plan within a plan. This is how I'm going to keep my knowledge up to date. That's the first section. So it's all about goals. Number 2 section is about education. Where am I going to get my financial education? Well, I'm going to listen to Snyder's radio show. That might be a good idea. Okay? I'm going to read books. I'm going to read Think and Grow Rich. I'm going to read 101 Ways to Ease the Tax Bite. I'm going to do a lot of reading. I'm going to have a list of books. And if I can't get a list, I'm going to call Snyder. He'll give me a list. So that's about your financial education. I'm going to take the Canadian Securities course. I had a lady come in to see me last week. She's not even in the business, never has been, but she's a CFP, Certified Financial Planner. She's got that designation. You don't have to be in the business to get it. So you can define that to whatever degree you want. And I would suggest on the number 2 tab that you use Google. That's your mastermind. Remember we talked about the mastermind with Henry Ford? Wants an electrician, pushes a button, the guy comes in. Wants an accountant, pushes a button, the guy comes in, and so on. Today we have Google. I have access to so many. I'm sitting here in a desk in front of a microphone, looking at the screen on a laptop computer, and I can go into Google, and I can access just about an unlimited amount of knowledge at my fingertips. Almost anything that you want to know. Now, they're probably not going to tell me who's going to win the football game today. That might be a good, but I'll bet you they give you something. And if you got an iPhone or an iPad, you can push the button, you can call up Siri, and you can ask Siri a question. I keep track of my odometer reading on my car using Siri. I'm on my way out here. I get in the car. I push the button. I say, Siri, send a text message. She says, well, whom shall I send it? I said to myself, what shall I say? Odometer reading 25,265 miles. Boom. It's logged automatically. I have to keep track of that to satisfy CRA. Okay? These are just little things that you can do with technology. Technology is unbelievable. So it's continuing education is number 2. Number 3. What do you think number 3 is? Can anybody guess? Can't hear you, but let's say that number 3 is about an honest evaluation of where you stand right now. So number 3 is a set really of financial statements. So number 3 involves a cash flow statement. It involves a balance sheet. Cash flow is a list of your income and your expenses. Balance sheet is a list of your assets and liabilities. And any information about where you stand right now, like insurance policies, your will, all that kind of stuff. General information on the whole scene, that's in section 3. So when I talk to you about getting a financial plan, I'm not talking about buying shares in Ford Motor Company, that's not a financial plan. Okay? I'm talking about a comprehensive blueprint that says, this is where I stand right now. I want you to visualize the bridge to the future as a rainbow, and at the other end of the rainbow, there's a pot of gold. So the pot of gold is your financial future, the rainbow is the bridge, and wherever you stand right now is the starting point. And the longest journey begins with the first step, and that's really a kind of a summary of what that would be, an icon as to what a financial plan looks like. But more than anything else, ladies and gentlemen, sincerely, more than anything else, you got to want to. And you got to want to an awful lot. We have a tendency to start things that we don't finish because we get lazy. But we always finish what we start if we have a burning desire to accomplish it. So want is more than just want, it's a burning desire. So how do you create a burning desire to do better than you're doing right now? A burning desire to lose 30 pounds. A burning desire to know more. A burning desire to have more. I used to say that having is the result of being. You want to have something, you must become first. So that's personal growth and development. You want to be a millionaire, you have to be the kind of person that deserves to be a millionaire. I mean, how many people would say Trump's secret of success is this? Why is Trump so successful financially? And I'm not saying I like him or I'm voting for him or anything else, but he's certainly successful financially. How did he achieve such success? I'll guarantee you he had a burning desire to succeed. Period. So having is the result of being, and you must become to get what you want. Burning desire, you have to visualize yourself having already achieved the success that you're looking for. The success that you're looking for is about the goals that you've set. If you don't have those goals, how can you visualize yourself having already achieved them? You want to live a lazy life in a warm climate? I want you to visualize yourself 10 years from now or whenever, lying on the beach in Hawaii. Got a towel spread out, you're lying on the beach, you can feel that hot sun on your back. The years of fatigue just roll off. The surf is pounding on the beach because you're right there, right at it. The birds are circling overhead, you can hear them chirping. You get up, you stretch, you feel the cool breeze off the ocean. You step off the blanket onto the sand, you can feel the hot sand crunch between your toes. I mean, this is called visualization. You got feel and touch and sound and everything else in play. And that's how you keep yourself motivated. And motivation is like the stock market. It fluctuates. It's not always strong. So you have to be able to look in the mirror every now and then and give yourself a talking to. We've talked many, many times about affirmations. You have to be able to look in the mirror and say, I am the great. That's what Muhammad Ali used to do. He said, I am the greatest. And he believed it. And he believed it because he kept saying it over and over and over and over again to his subconscious mind. Okay? That's what you have to do. You have to say, from now on, every time I make $1, from now on, every time I make $1, I'm going to put 10 cents aside. I'm going to do that religiously until it becomes a habit that is so strong that just like smoking, I can't quit. Okay? 10 cents goes into savings no matter what. I'm going to learn to live on 90 cents out of every dollar I earn, and I'm going to put 10 cents away. Then I'm going to make sure that I know how to invest. I'm going to entrust that 10 cents to experts. I'm going to put that into well-managed investment products, like mutual funds, like segregated funds, in certain cases stocks, things like that. I'm going to build a bulletproof financial portfolio or investment portfolio. And I'm going to entrust the help of experts to do so. You want to come in and see me and sit down with me? I can sit down with you and help you build and create a custom-designed, on-the-fly investment portfolio. Or you can come in and see me and give me a copy of your investment statements, And I can take that and punch it into the computer and get an analysis of that portfolio that will define its parameters. It will define its expected rate of return. It will define the risk that's in the portfolio, the alpha, the beta, all the other things that I talked about. And you may not understand that. I can explain how that works for you. So, for example, if you're comparing two portfolios, we'll say A and B, and portfolio A has an alpha, we'll say, of 10, and portfolio B has an alpha of 7. What does that mean? Well, it means that portfolio A has more alpha than B, so it's the better portfolio just measured by alpha. Okay. So you got the Sharpe ratio. The higher the number, the better. So if you get a portfolio that has a Sharpe ratio of, we'll say, 10, and another one has a Sharpe ratio of 7, portfolio 10 has less risk-adjusted, as a better risk-adjusted performance when measured by that criteria. That's what we have to do, and that's why we have these tools, and you have to understand that. I've said this many, many times before. You ought to be able to put your investment portfolio statement on the table in front of you, put your finger on it on any place, wherever it may rest, and say to your investment advisor, why do I own this fund? And if your investment advisor can't give you a good answer, I think it's time for a second opinion. Or if you don't know why you own that fund, I think it's time for a second opinion. So that's what it's all about. So we're talking about what people have in common, and we're talking about the investment planning process. So that's step 3. There's 10. We're only at step 3 right now. Okay? So what do you think step 4 is? Well, step 4 is about risk management. How do you cover yourself against risk? When we talk about risk, what are we talking about? Well, risk is you could die. That's definitely a risk. You could become disabled. That's definitely a risk. You could develop a critical illness. That's definitely a risk. You could lose your job. You get laid off, downsized. That's certainly a risk. Your spouse could walk out on you. That's a risk. What are some of the things, the unexpected things that pop up in your life that you haven't prepared for? 2 words, what if? Look at your circumstances and say, what if? What if I come home tomorrow night and my wife's gone? What do I do? What if through an unfortunate accident of some kind or another, my finances get out of control and I end up bankrupt? What if? What does my family do if I die? How do I finance my children's education if my income isn't substantial enough by the time they're ready to go to college to be able to support them? There's 1,000 of these what ifs that you have to take a look at. So what if? So that's called risk management. And, 80% of mortgage foreclosures are caused by disability. Can't work. You've been working fine, all of a sudden you go to the doctor, you got some kind of a disability, you're in trouble. I had 2 very close personal friends that were in their 50s unexpectedly die of ALS. I had another fellow, he was a little older, that worked for me one time. He was in his 70s. He died of ALS. I know 3 people that died of that deadly disease. Horrifying. So what happens if that happens to you? You need to make sure that you're protected. And that has to be analyzed. So you got to build a risk management plan. That's a plan within a plan. And so far we're talking about plans within a plan. We're talking about the education, that's a plan within a plan. Okay? Think about that. And think about all the factors and try to put it all together in a symbiotic relationship where it all fits together like the pieces of a puzzle. So where do you want to be 10 years from now? Can you see yourself there? I want you to just sit back, close your eyes, and think. It's 10 years from now. Just had your birthday. It's yesterday. I want you to visualize yourself rich. What would it look like? How would you feel? You're a wealthy person. You don't have to worry too much because you got lots of money. How does a wealthy person feel? How does Donald Trump feel? But he doesn't seem to give a damn about anything. Okay? Think about that. Then flip the coin, flip it over. And let's say it's 10 years from now, same circumstance, only you're flat broke. You reach in your pockets, you turn them inside out, and there's nothing in there except fleas. You're broke. How do you feel? Can't be too good. Too late to start all over again. We'll say maybe you're 65 at this point. It's too late to start all over again. You're broke. And it must feel miserable. Now, I want you to think about it. It's today, though. It's not 10 years from now. And today, you're in the driver's seat. You can make that decision today. You can make that decision today. Because if you don't, and you're the guy that's broke when you're 65, that guy's going to look back on you today and hate you for not doing your job. And conversely, the other guy's going to look back on you today and say, thank you very much for doing a great job. It's all up to you. The slogan is, get your future going today. You can create your own future, whatever it looks like. And if you visualize that future, then you're in a position to take control. And I have to go to the break. When I come back, we'll continue to talk about the past, present, and the future. Don't go away. So you got to start thinking about how you're spending your money.
Fred Snyder.
If you can reduce the amount of tax you pay, that means that you get a tax refund. So you get a tax refund means you've really overpaid your taxes. And if you overpay your taxes, what you've really done is loan money to the government. So rule number one of my 46 ways to ease the tax bite is don't lend your money to the government.
Fred Snyder.
So pay your taxes. We're not talking about not paying your taxes. We're talking about legal ways to reduce the taxes you pay, not avoid them, to reduce the taxes you pay so that you can have more money to save and invest so that you can achieve your financial goals sooner. And if you're already there, stay there longer, because once you get there, it's your obligation to stay there.
Fred Snyder.
If you have a financial plan and you're somewhere in the middle and you're wondering what tweaks that you should make in that plan to make it what you really want it to be, time to make a phone call. Or if maybe you're just getting started out and you want to get a starter plan, maybe it's time to talk to somebody like myself and get yourself on the right track.
Fred Snyder.
I think that everybody needs to go and make an appointment to see Fred.
Talk to Fred. Listen to Fred. Fred Snyder. Sunday mornings 9 to 11 on CIL 650. This is CISL Vancouver. Smooth and easy. CIL 650. This is It's Your Money on CIL 650. Here once again is Fred Snyder.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, listeners out there, we are back. And I remind you once again, we're talking about your money and how to keep it. But today we're kind of talking about what do we all have in common. And I think I've earned the right, because I've talked to thousands of people about their money over a great many years. So I've earned the right to talk about what we all have in common because they see it. And generally speaking, it's almost always the same. We have low knowledge. We don't shop around for the best products, whatever they may be. We don't have a financial plan. We don't have the knowledge to drive that plan. We don't have a proper financial advisor. It's like driving around with a bag over our heads. We don't know where we're going. We don't know where we were. We're lost. We don't have financial direction. And we're not motivated enough. We don't have that burning desire to do it. See, you have to deny yourself the instant pleasure of spending 110% of everything that you earn and reduce that to spending only 90% of what you earn. You got to fight the temptation. So instead of going to Starbucks every day, you cut that out. Instead of going out for lunch at a restaurant every day, you brown bag it to work. Things like that. You'd be surprised how it adds up. I've said this before, and I don't want to antagonize those who smoke. I really don't. But when you think about it, most smokers, and I used to smoke, most smokers smoke a pack a day. When I smoked, it was probably a pack a day, maybe even more. What's a package of cigarettes cost today? I think it's $10. But when you buy a package of cigarettes, the cost of the cigarettes is not tax deductible. So you really had to earn $20 if you're in a top tax bracket, pay $10 of tax to have $10 left to buy those cigarettes. So those cigarettes, in terms of before tax dollars, really cost you $20. Now that means, alternatively, you could quit smoking and put $20 a day into an RRSP. Like, that's $600 a month. So you want to find, if you smoke, you want to find a way to put $600 a month into an RRSP. Quit smoking and put the money into an RRSP instead. So instead of gambling with your health by smoking, get healthier, live longer, and be wealthier at the end of the day because you put that same money into an RRSP, just as one example. And I could name you many. Think about how much money you waste. And I'm sure there's lots. You want to compare what you should be spending in any category, go to Stats Canada. You can look the number up in Stats Canada. You can find out what the average Canadian spends on anything in any city, including Vancouver. Okay? If you have debt expense that's not deductible, try to make it tax deductible. Find a financial advisor that will go through your financial situation line by line by line by line and say, this is how you could do it better. And your financial situation is really about what you make and what you spend. The rest of it comes after that. It really should start with what you spend, then what you make, then assets and liabilities, in that order. So if you're spending $4,000 a month, where does the money come from? If you need to spend $4,000 a month, where does the money come from? Now, if you're 65, you can say, well, I get $540 a month old age pension. I get Canada Pension Plan $1,000, my wife the same. That's almost $3,000 a month from Social Security. But remember, that's at age 65. You don't get the old age security at age 60, although you can take the Canada Pension Plan early if you want. There's things you can do. You might even qualify for the guaranteed income supplement. These are all things that need to be considered when you're defining a written financial plan. Okay? It's all in there. So a financial plan is a document that says, this is where I am at right now, this is where I want to go, and this is how I'm going to get there. And this is the person I'm going to hire to help me make it work. Do you have that? Chances are you don't. I had a woman in my office last week, beautiful 35-page financial plan from a major Canadian financial institution. I said, this is lovely. I rarely see these. But before I even look at it, I want to ask you a question. Do you understand it? She looked at me and said, no, kind of sheepishly. Well, I just think about what just happened there. Here's a woman that believes that she's on the right track financially, but she's got a financial plan that she doesn't understand. Where was the responsibility of the financial advisor who crafted that plan for her? Shouldn't he made sure that she understood it? Or made it simple enough that she could understand it? That's all part of the game. That's what it's about. So you need a financial plan that's going to say, this is where you stand right now. My hopes, my plans, and my dreams and ambitions are well defined. And relative to that, this is where I stand. This is how I'm going to change that to get right back on track so that I can achieve all my financial objectives within 10 years, 20 years, whatever the time frames are. Okay? So we're only up to step 4. So what do you think step 5 is? Step 5 is called retirement planning. We kind of alluded a bit to this earlier, but retirement planning is a little more about the future. The cash management part is about now. Retirement planning is about future cash flow. So I want to retire when I'm 60. Okay? Let's say that I figure I'm going to live to be age 85. That's 25 years. So I'm going to need 25 annualized payments of income over that time period. But if there's inflation, those 25 payments have to increase by 3% every year just to cover the cost of living. So the payments become unequal. They become greater by 3% each year for 25 years. Ouch. So at the beginning of that period of time, how much capital do I need to fund that income stream? Well, I have to assume a rate of return, and I got to assume a rate of inflation. I usually use 3%. I think that's fair to assume. I usually assume a rate of return of 6 or 7%. I think that's achievable. Not guaranteed in most cases, but I think it's achievable. I think it's realistic, but we could use 5 or an even smaller number. The smaller the number, the better. So this is called number crunching. It's called the future value and the present value of money. And you got to be able to make those calculations. And most people haven't got a clue how to do it. I know lots of financial advisors that don't have a clue how to do it. Okay? But you need to know. I attended a conference in Surrey a few years back. There was about maybe 300 people in the audience. And I said, how many people in this room know how much money they have to put away systematically to achieve their financial objectives such as retirement? I got 2 hands that went up. 2. So I know that most people don't know. Now you're listening to this show right now. Ask yourself the question, do I know? Is it important, and should I know? If the answer to that is yes, it's time to make a phone call. 604-280-0650. Long distance, 1-877-280-0650. Log on, www.CIL650.com. And for your convenience, for those who are shy, those who want to make an appointment to see myself, those who want to cut to the chase, give Frida a call down at the office at area code 604-737-3512. Long distance, 1-800-661-1495. I'm certified financial planner Fred Snyder, also a registered financial planner representing Scotia Wealth Management. That's our new brand name. And really, I think it's more descriptive about what we do. We just don't sell investments. We do financial planning. Investments are part of that, but we do financial planning. I had a fellow in my office last week. He was concerned that his portfolio for the year was down 1.5%. Last year, this year that we just are still going through, September was one of the worst months I've ever seen. And to be down 1.5% over a period like that, that's good. That's not bad. And if you look at the long-term performance of the portfolio that this gentleman has, the longer-term performance is almost 10% over a 5-year period. So that's the problem. You know, alternatively, a gentleman like this could invest that money into a GIC. He might be lucky enough to get 2%, but that's all he would get. He puts it in this portfolio for the long term, he averages 10. So part of the price he pays to get the greater rate of return is called volatility. And to be down 1.5% on a well-balanced portfolio over that period of time, that's good. That's not bad at all. And you can compare that to other portfolios. You can compare that to benchmark indexes and all the rest of it. It stacks up awfully well. So where do you stand with your portfolio? And is it time to get an analysis, an x-ray of your existing portfolio? You do that by making a phone call. Give Frida a call down at the office right now, area code 604-737-3512. If you're calling long distance, it's 1-800-661-1495. So getting back to the topic at hand, retirement planning is all about what income will I... No, let's start with expenses. When I retire at 65, what will I need to spend my money on? Well, my mortgage is going to be paid, so I won't have a mortgage payment to make. Okay, my property taxes are $200 a month. I plan on deferring them, so I won't have to pay my property taxes. Okay? Grocery bill, we got a couple of kids at home right now. They're going to be gone, so the grocery bill is going to reduce. By the time that I'm going to inflation adjust the numbers, so I'm going to use today's dollars. So today's dollars, that's $700 a month between my wife and myself, according to Stats Canada. My insurance premiums are $2,000 a month. My cost of my home insurance is $50 a month. I give $100 a month to charity, and I spend $100 a month on presents. Take a vacation every year, it costs $300 a month. So I go down the list, and it ends up, I need $4,000 a month to live the lifestyle that I want to live when I retire at age 65. Okay, so I need $4,000 a month. Where's the money come from? Well, I had a good job when I worked. My wife had a good job. We both get $1,000 a month Canada Pension Plan. We're both going to get around $1,000 a month old age pension. That's $3,000 a month. So I only need $1,000 a month to cover the shortfall, and I got $500,000 in investments. So all I need to do now is take $1,000 a month out of my investments, and I'm fine. I'm in great shape. I don't have to take a lot of risk. Or on the other hand, my retirement expenses are going to be $4,000, but for whatever reason, I don't have enough savings. I don't have enough of anything. My projected income at age 65 is $3,000 a month. I got a deficit of $1,000 a month. So what can I cut back? Well, maybe I don't take a vacation. Maybe I don't eat so well. Maybe we got to sell the house and downsize. But I certainly have to adjust somehow. And I can't wait till I'm 65 to do it, because it'll be too late to do it then. I got to do it now. Time for a financial plan. Ladies and gentlemen, listeners out there, I hope all this makes a lot of sense, because I think it does. And I think you should be listening hard to what I'm saying, because you got to be proactive, not reactive. Proactive means you do it now. Reactive means you wait until it's too late, and then you try to fix it. Okay? You got to do that. Proactive means you get a plan. Proactive means you check the plan out that you have. You make sure it works. Proactive means you get yourself a proper financial advisor, somebody with the knowledge, integrity, and experience to make it work. I'm going to give everybody a little formula. And you can apply this to me, or you can apply it to anybody else for that matter. Like you want to know who to vote for. Apply the formula. 3 C's. The first C stands for care. Does this person care, like you're looking for a financial advisor, does this person care enough about my finances to properly look after me? The answer is always obvious. I'll prove it in a minute. The second C stands for competence. Is this person competent enough to look after my financial affairs? And the last C stands for character, or honesty and integrity. Is this person honest? Does this person have integrity to do what they say they will, whenever they say that they will do it? Or give me a good reason why they couldn't? 3 C's. Now apply those 3 C's to Obama. Does he care? I don't know. Maybe. I'm not sure. Is he competent? I don't know. I'm not too sure there either. And I'm being honest. Character? Is he honest? I think he's honest. He may score 1 on one of them. How about Trump? Does Trump care? Does he care? Okay. I'm not so sure. I don't think so. I think he cares about himself. And I'm not trying to run him down. I'm just being honest. Is he competent? I think he may be pretty competent. Okay. Character, is he honest? Well, he's been bankrupt 3 times. Does that mean he's dishonest? I don't know, but that's a question mark. And now you start to get some idea why, in spite of the fact that he's leading in the polls, he's a lame duck somewhat. Okay? You can apply that to just about anybody, and it works. Do they care? Are they competent? And is the character there to back it all up? Now, those aren't mine. I got those words from General Kashvili. He was giving a speech to the graduating class of Annapolis about 10 years ago. I thought that was so good I memorized it. It really works. So we're talking about your money and how to keep it, and we're talking about what people have in common, and the fact is that most people have an ineffective, I'm going to put it this way, most people have an ineffective financial plan. If they have one, it's ineffective. If they don't have one, it's still an ineffective financial plan. Key word is ineffective. Now, you may have an effective plan, but you're not sure. That makes it ineffective too. It's time to fix it. A phone call will fix it. So 604-280-0650. Long distance 877-280-0650. Log on www.cil650.com. Read us down at the office at 604-737-3512. If you're calling long distance, it's 1-800-661-1495. Talking about your money, more importantly, about your money and how to keep it. So we were just talking about retirement planning. That's step 5. What's the next step? The next step is called capital creation. Because it's not just enough to put money away to look after your retirement, although it might be. But what about the extra money? Have you heard of the TFSA? That's not an RRSP. You can put money into a TFSA right now, and anything you earn inside that TFSA is tax-free. Now, there are people today that are abusing the TFSA, I understand. I had Jamie Newens from Davidson and Company on the show last week. We were talking about this very topic. CRA is looking for people who have excessive amounts inside a TFSA. If you made your maximum contributions to a TFSA since they started them, you would have been able to deposit $41,000. Well, let's say the TFSA today is worth $350,000. And there are some cases where that's true. The people that have done that are day traders, and they're speculating like crazy, buying and selling stocks, and they must be good at it. So they've grown $41,000 into an enormous amount of money, and they think it's tax-free. Well, let me tell you something. It's not tax-free. Because CRA, when they discover these people, will deem that they are professional traders. They won't get capital gains treatment. They won't get TFSA treatment. And they will deem that they're in the business of buying and selling stocks. And that will be taxed as ordinary business income. And all they got to do is make a phone call to any financial institution and say, give us a list of all your clients that have TFSAs that have over $60,000 in them or something like that. And they'll audit them. So if you're out there and that's you, be careful. Maybe it's time to talk to somebody like me as to how you fix it. And they have what they call voluntary disclosure rules and all kinds of stuff where you can get around that kind of stuff without penalties. But you got to fix it if that's you. If you're a U.S. citizen living in Canada, even though you've lived here all your life and you have an RRSP, you have to report that RRSP to the IRS. And if you don't, they're looking for you right now. And the fine is substantial. So this and much, much more is what it's all about, okay? So we're talking about income tax as part of your overall financial plan. So what is your tax plan inside your master plan? It's all part of it. And what might you do if you have a problem? Well, maybe it starts with talking to me. Or not me, somebody like me, somebody that does what I do. And by the way, I just want to say one thing. I should have put this disclaimer up when we started. We talk about lots of stuff on this show, and just because we talk about it on this show doesn't mean that we're recommending it. It doesn't mean that. So don't run out and try to do anything that I talk about on this show on the basis that you think that I've recommended it, because that's not true. You shouldn't do anything without consulting with myself directly or your financial advisor, be it somebody else. I had a lady who came to see me after her husband died one time, and she said that my husband, when he was dying, told me to go to see nobody other than you. Because the reason he had all this money, and it wasn't invested with me, it was with somebody else. The reason he had all this money is because he listened to you for years on this radio show and did exactly what you said to do. Okay? Now, he said, I make the investment decisions now, but you, my dear wife, are not qualified to make those decisions, so you need somebody like Snyder. Go see him. That's a true story. So, the financial advice that I give on this show is good, solid advice, but you should not run out and try to implement it without talking to myself directly or your trusted financial advisor, be it somebody else. Hope that's clear. Okay? 604-280-0650, long distance, 1-877-280-0650. Log on, www.CIL650.com. Free to down at the office at area code 604-737-3512. Long distance, 1-800-661-1495. Now, that's an awful lot of numbers. If you missed all those numbers, I'm going to give you one more number. This is my cell phone. Don't call me right now. You can call me after the show on my cell phone, which is 644-PLAN. 644-7526. Call me about 10 after 11 or so, and I'd be very happy to talk to you. And again, the key number is Frida's number down at the office, 604-737-3512. And I remind you once again, we're under the banner right now of Scotia Wealth Management, not Scotia McLeod. Wealth management is really financial planning. It's a broader subject. Scotia McLeod is more like investments themselves. And I remind you, I'm an independent financial advisor. I represent virtually everybody that's out there. I have a financial warehouse that's full of financial products. I'm talking about financial products that are offered by all the major banks, some of the major investment companies and so on, all the seg funds, all the insurance companies. So I can go to the market for product because I'm independent. And I can tell you this, I have 10 categories of funds that I use to build portfolios, and I can't find the best fund in every category with the same company. I have to talk to several companies to be able to get the best products. So you need to understand that. So you need to deal with a financial advisor who is independent. Independent is the key word. They're not a captive, part of a captive, so to speak, sales force. So everybody needs a written financial plan. Everybody needs a written investment plan. And I'm talking generally right now about the written financial plan. So capital creation is about the money that's outside of the RRSP. Too many people that come to see me, they have all their money invested in their house, their pension plan, their RRSP, and they have nothing outside. So here's the plan. If you put money into an RRSP, and most people do, and they don't put enough money into their TFSA, you always get a tax refund from the RRSP. Most people spend it. Please, don't spend it anymore. Take the tax refund and put it into a TFSA. Any profit you make on that TFSA is tax-free. You never pay tax on it. Any profit you make on the RRSP is deferred. You pay tax on it down the road. The TFSA, you don't pay any tax. Now, you can withdraw money. It can be a put-and-take account. You can put money in. You can take money out. If you take money out, you can put it back. But you don't put it back the same year or it will be deemed to be an overcontribution. So it's June. You need $10,000. Take it out of your TFSA. Put it back next January. That's the kind of thing that we're talking about. And that's just the TFSA. What about the rest of your cash? I have lots of clients that have $1 million inside RSPs and $1 million outside. How do you invest the money outside of the RSP? Well, if it's a GIC or a term deposit and it's inside the RSP, the interest is tax sheltered inside the RSP. But if it's outside, the interest is 100% taxable. So if you're in a 50% tax bracket and you get $20,000 in interest income from your GICs, costs you $10,000 in tax. Maybe you ought to be looking at switching those investments so that you get dividends and capital gains instead, because they're tax preferred. If you're in the top tax bracket, you get dividends, you pay about 20% tax instead of 50 on interest, or a capital gain about 20% instead of 50 on interest. So you save a lot of tax. Simplify it this way: if you get 10% rate of return from fixed income investments that are fully taxable outside of an RSP, you lose 5% to the tax man, 3% to inflation, you're left with 2% out of 10. Out of 10, you net 2. If it's capital gains and dividend kind of a situation, out of 10, you net 8. Excuse me, 5, because I forgot to take the inflation off. Okay? And 5 is better than 2 any day of the week and twice on Sundays. Okay? So 604-280-0650, long distance, 1-877-280-0650. Log on, www.cil650.com. Free to down at the office, 604-737-3512. Long distance, 1-800-661-1495. And I said all that without even coming up for air. 644-PLAN. That's my cell number. Call me. And I have to go to the break.
Fred Snyder.
I want you to imagine a person who is uptight, always worried, has high blood pressure, looking at their bank statement every time they turn around, and it's always red. Okay? They're spending more than they earn. They can't seem to get out of the hole. They're always telling people, I'm catching up, I'm trying to catch up. So they're always behind the 8 ball. And life isn't pretty. And they're not happy and they're frustrated. And they're not even fun to be around, those kind of people. There's a black cloud hanging over their head. Visualize that, because there's lots of people out there right now that are in that boat.
Fred Snyder.
And you have to ask yourself the question right now, what would happen if that happened to me? Because here I am. I'm sitting out here. I don't have a written financial plan. I haven't taken the time to sit down and think about my goals, the things that I really want to accomplish. I'm like a ship without a rudder. I have no direction. I'm procrastinating because I don't know what to do. And I'm still not doing anything about it. So instead of being proactive as I should be, I'm being reactive. I'm waiting for the bad stuff to happen and not controlling my destiny. If that's you, it's time to make a phone call.
Call Fred. Talk to Fred. Listen to Fred. Fred Snyder. Sunday mornings 9 to 11 on CIL 650. Welcome back to It's Your Money on CIL 650. If you have a question for Fred, call 604-280-0650. Now, back to Fred.
Okay, we're back. Remind you once again, ladies and gentlemen, we are live. We're taking your calls. We encourage you to call. We want to share this show with you, our listeners. So participate in the show by making a phone call. Let's talk to Douglas from Surrey. Doug, welcome to the program.
Oh, hello there.
Hi, Doug. How are you doing?
I'm good, thank you. Thanks for taking my call, Fred.
No problem. Thanks for calling.
So I had a question. You were talking about ways to save taxation on interest expenses.
Yes.
And I've heard of the Smith maneuver.
Yes.
Is that what you're talking about, or does that only apply to real estate? And if it doesn't, could you give an example of how I could apply that technique to, say, a car purchase?
Sure.
How I could deduct the interest from my income.
Let me talk. That's a complicated topic. The guy that wrote the book, The Smith Maneuver, his name was Fraser Smith.
Uh-huh.
I learned how to do the Smith Maneuver from David Ingram, and I taught Fraser Smith how to do it.
Oh, okay.
So you couldn't be talking to a better person about the Smith Maneuver. The bottom line is, doesn't just apply to real estate. Let's just suppose that you have a house. In fact, there's a lawyer by the name of John Singleton. It's a good example. So there's a case in tax law. A fellow by the name of John Singleton, he decided to buy a house. He's a lawyer. He worked for a firm. So he went to his firm and said, look, I need $300,000 to buy a house. I guess they were pretty cheap then, so that tells you how long ago it was.
Yeah.
But anyway, he went to the firm and he said, can I take $300 or $300,000 out of the corporate account and I'll put it back later? And they said, sure, no problem. So he borrowed the $300,000 and he went and he bought a house. Then he put a mortgage on the house for $300,000 and put the money back. So he said the mortgage on the house was used for business purposes. And he claimed the interest expense. He was challenged by CRA. He went through all the courts of the land and he won.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a swap. So here's the deal. So let's say that you have a house. And let's suppose there's a $200,000 mortgage on it, as an example. And let's just suppose that let's say you win $200,000 or you inherit $200,000. Doesn't matter where the money comes from, but you got $200,000 cash.
Okay.
You pay off the mortgage. So now you have no mortgage. Then you remortgage for the $200,000 and you invest the proceeds. The interest is deductible.
Okay.
Now
So
you can do the same thing with business expenses. It's called expense damming. It's a little more complicated. I would suggest that anybody that's interested in doing this, that they do so with advice. They don't do it on their own. And secondly, they get the book, The Smith Manure.
Okay.
You can get it online, I believe.
Okay. I'll look into that. Yeah.
You see, let's suppose that we take that $200,000 debt, and let's say the interest on the $200,000 is 5%. That's $10,000 a year. It's not deductible. So you really have to earn $20,000, pay $10,000 of tax to have $10,000 left to carry that. So in terms of before tax dollars, that eats up $20,000 of gross income. That can be a lot of money for a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
If you can make it deductible, you reduce the cost to 10.
Okay. Just another question regarding real estate.
Yes.
That interest, that's tax deductible against your income, say from employment, or would it be applied to rental income or a combination?
Ideally, it would be applied to rental income or a combination. There's a question come up the other day, and I need to get it verified. They may have changed it. You may not be able to apply that against employment income. I'm doing some research on that right now.
Oh, I see. Okay, so for now it would be targeted toward rental.
You certainly couldn't do it if you were incorporated. You have to be a sole proprietor. If you're using business income, you got to be a sole proprietor to make it work. Somebody told me that if you have any losses, or you can't mix income from a sole proprietorship and employment income together and use deductions. I'm not so sure about that, but I'm checking that out right now.
Okay, well, I'll look for that book then. Sounds like it's.
I'll talk to my good friend Jamie Newens. He's a CA that I work with. He's part of my mastermind group. He can definitely give me the answer to that. Because you got to remember the rules in CRA. A lot of them are interpretations, and they change all the time. That's the problem.
Okay, so even if I read that book, some of the information in there may not apply at this time.
It's generally a good idea to understand the concept. It would be a good idea to read it and understand the concept.
Okay, and then consult with.
Because I think I've often said one of the reasons people fail financially is lack of knowledge. But I think you can refine that, drill down on that a little bit, and say that they don't manage their debt very well. It starts with poor debt management. Like for example, let's just suppose that you're self-employed, and you go into a store to buy a television set, and you buy the TV set, you put it on your Visa card. Okay.
Okay.
The interest is not tax deductible.
Mm-hmm.
What you should have done was pay cash for the TV set, and borrow the money, to invest instead, and then the interest is tax deductible. You borrow money for business reasons. All personal expenses you pay cash for. So you swap it all. So you don't get in that situation to begin with.
Okay.
Well, so I could spend a great deal of time talking about this particular topic. It's not simple. and sometimes it's hard to get it through people's heads. But the best place to start is to read that book. It's a well-written book.
Okay. I'll do that. Yeah.
So if, because you called the show, you get the Think and Grow Rich book as well. So if you give Frida a call, she'll make arrangements for that.
Okay. Thanks very much, Fred.
Appreciate your call.
By the way, it was Amy and I who visited you the other day.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks for the call. I appreciate it.
Okay. Yeah, and thanks for the chat in your office. It was very valuable.
Okay, you take care, Doug.
Okay, thank you.
Bye now.
Bye-bye.
Okay, so Douglas's line is now open. So if you're out there, you just tuned in listening to the show, get on the line, give us a call. We're talking about your money, more importantly about your money and how to keep it. We're talking about the financial planning process. As well, we're talking about what people have in common from a financial point of view. And I know very, very much that most people are too shy to talk on the show, so therefore they call Frida. Most people don't shop around for the best products, whatever they may be, and they should. And I got a shy caller who wants to know about TFSAs in general. So, shy caller, welcome to the program. Hello? Do I have shy caller out there? Hello? You can't hear very well. Hi. No? Okay. Lost a shy caller. So you want to know about TFSAs in general? I'll just talk about TFSAs. I thought I just did. But you can put anything, generally speaking, that you could put into an RRSP, you can put into a TFSA. TFSA stands for Tax-Free Savings Account. What most people did when they first come out with TFSAs, because they were called tax-free savings accounts, they went to the bank, they opened a savings account. And what's the rate of return on savings account? 1%, maybe 2%, no more than that. That's tax-free. Well, that's wonderful. But they didn't understand that they should have called it a tax-free investment account. Okay? Because then it would have been more descriptive. But whatever you can invest inside your RRSP, you can put into a TFSA. You can put stocks into a TFSA. You can put mutual funds inside a TFSA. You can put segregated investment funds into a TFSA. And you should probably try to take a little bit more risk with your TFSA because it's tax-free, the return that you get. So if you get a return on your TFSA of 10%, it's net. It's net. The only adjustment you have to make on that 10 is for inflation. So if you take 2 off of 10, you're still getting 7% on your money. If that 10 was outside, you'd be getting about 3 after taxes and inflation. And the thing about a TFSA is it's not tax deferred, it's tax free. So if you put $41,000 into a TFSA over the time that we've had them, you could have $82,000 in there at some time in the future, which means that you made $41,000 income tax free. That's the best deal of all. Now, if you're married, you have a spouse, your spouse can do the same thing. So that's $82,000 tax free. That could be $160,000 at some time in the future. And the gain, the $82,000 gain, is tax-free money. No tax. Now, you're allowed to withdraw money from the TFSA. You put money in, you take it out, there's no tax. You can put it back, but if you put it back the same year, you have to pay tax on it. Now, one other thing. The word is that Trudeau is going to decrease the contribution to the TFSA from $10,000 to $5,500. I don't know if it would be a good idea or not, but it might not be a bad idea to make that $10,000 contribution, because I doubt he'd make it retroactive. But he might. So I don't know. You ask me, I just say, it's a good bet. What's the worst thing that can happen? They roll it back. No, I don't think they're going to penalize you. I doubt that. So you might consider it if you got the money. So I hope that answers any questions that anybody would have on a TFSA. If you have any further questions on a TFSA, give me a call on my cell phone, which is 644-PLAN, 644-7526. Make sure it's not in the next half an hour or so because I'll still be on the air. I won't be able to take your call. Okay? If you want to talk to me on the air live, you can do so right now. So the number to call is 604-280-0650. Long distance 1-877-280-0650. Log on www.cil650.com. Read it out at the office 604-737-3512. Long distance 1-800-661-1495. Talking about your money, more importantly about your money and how to keep it. And the best way to keep it is to have a written financial plan. And if you make that phone call, you get one, our compliments. Second opinion on your investment portfolio. So I'm kind of doing the anatomy of a financial plan. So the next step in the financial planning process after capital creation is estate planning. Now, we've had Timothy Lack on this radio show, who's a lawyer who specializes in estate planning. And I know that most of the people I talk to do not have a will, or if they have a will, it's not up to date. They passed new legislation regarding wills a year and a half or two ago. It's called WESA. And if you have a will that hasn't been looked at in the last year and a half or 2 years or so, it probably does need an update. So again, you want that checked out. That's a good reason to make a call. If you don't have a will kit, I'll be happy to provide you with one. All it takes is a phone call. You also need an enduring power of attorney and a representation agreement. An enduring power of attorney looks after your financial affairs. A representation agreement looks after your health affairs in the event that you're unable to do so yourself. So everybody needs that. Estate planning is all about love. It's about your legacy. You know, you do all the right things and you accumulate a small fortune and you got all this money. So how do you pass it on to the next generation without the government grabbing it all in taxes or without the next generation fighting over it? Happens all the time. I see it all the time in my clients' lives and even in my own personal life. Let's talk to Dennis from Burnaby. Dennis, welcome to the program.
Hi, Fred.
Hi, Dennis. How you doing?
Pretty good, thanks. So if I understood you correctly, it is something I've had in the back of my mind, is I'll put $10,000 into tax-free savings January 1st.
Yes.
And hopefully it all ends well.
Mm-hmm.
And as you said, the worst that could happen is they make me take half of it out.
They might, yeah. I can't see anything worse than that.
No, and I agree, and I'm glad we're thinking the same.
I mean, what are they going to do? He changed the. You did it according to the rules.
Yeah.
And Trudeau changed the rules. He's not going to. He can't. I don't think he can change the rules and penalize you for that.
Yeah, I don't think so either. So you've confirmed what I want to do.
Well, that's a plan.
Yeah. Both for me and my wife.
Yeah.
Okay. I enjoy your show.
Dennis, I can't tell you how much I appreciate your call. You take care. Any other questions?
Old age security clawback.
Yes.
So when do they start clawing it back?
Oh, as far back as I can remember.
No. The amount.
Well, the amount, roughly, I don't know the exact number, but it's around $71,000.
Okay.
So any income that you earn in excess of $71,000 causes the old age pension to get clawed back. And I think the band, it tops at $120. Once your income gets up to $120, the whole thing's clawed back.
Okay.
It's 15% is what they claw back per year.
So
per band.
And so that's $70,000 you mentioned.
Yeah.
That's after you pay your taxes. Or does that include the?
Well, part of the tax when they do the calculations is the clawback. That they put it in as a tax entry actually.
Okay.
So if your income exceeds, it's around 120. I don't know the exact number. I can Google it and get it. But if your income exceeds about 120,000, you've lost the whole thing.
Okay.
If your income exceeds 70,000, let's say it's halfway between 70 and 120, you lose half of it.
Okay.
The number comes out to 15% anyway.
Okay. Thank you, Fred.
I hope that was helpful. You take care. You have a nice weekend.
Yeah.
Bye for now. Okay, Dennis's line is now open if you just tuned in. I'm certified financial planner Fred Snyder, also a registered financial planner. I represent Scotia Wealth Management, not Scotia McLeod anymore. We've changed the name. Same firm, but we've changed the name because we think it's more descriptive of what we do. We're in the wealth management business. What does wealth management mean? It means more than just buying some stocks. It means more than just buying some mutual funds or some segregated funds or any investment product, GICs, etc. It's much, much more than that. It's a process. It's about having a cash management system. It's about mitigating your taxes, not paying more tax than you legally need to. It's about having the right insurance product in place. It's about a retirement plan. It's about capital creation. It's about that and much, much more. It's comprehensive. And there's so much to it. It's not simple. Wish it was. My job is to try to make it simple, but that's tough because it isn't. Okay, there's rules and regulations and all kinds of things that you have to follow. And if you don't do that, you can get into penalties and all kinds of other problems. How do you keep track of stuff? How do you keep track of your documents? Okay, you pass away. Where are your documents? Do you have a system for doing that? And there's so much. It's like an octopus. There's a whole lot of arms on this octopus, and you got to manage them all. And if you can't do that, you're going to have a problem. And I don't care if you're poor or rich. You're still going to have problems. If the rich people have problems, the poor people have problems. Poor people have a big problem. They don't have any money. The rich people have lots of money, but they got lots of problems that come along with that money. And it's our job to untangle all those issues. So again, what do people have in common? So the estate plan is made up of your will, your enduring power of attorney, and your representation agreement. Who are your executors? Who are your guardians? How do you look after your children? The Wills Variation Act, do I have a legal will? Let's suppose that you have a will right now in place. You have 4 kids. You leave one kid out of the will because you don't like him or her. Okay? Under the Wills Variation Act, your will is invalid. You got to write a new one because you can't cut anybody out of your will. Anybody who legally is entitled. And the Wills Variation Act in British Columbia says your children are all entitled to their fair share, even if you think they're not. So how do you deal with that? How do you make sure that you have the right will? Well, we're right back to the same old second opinion concept. Get a second opinion. So maybe it's your financial plan, get a second opinion. Maybe it's your will, get a second opinion. Don't try to do it yourself. You know, you see these TV programs, do-it-yourself builder, what's his name, Holmes? You see all the dog's breakfast that people get into. I see this with their finances exactly the same way. You know, how do you make sure, how do you find out what the best investments are and how do you transmit that information? How do you communicate that information to your clients and potential clients? It isn't easy because some people are easy to talk to. Other people are too smart by half. Okay? They spend all their time talking and no time listening. They should be learning, and you can't talk and learn at the same time. So you have to sit back, you got to listen, you got to absorb, you got to ask the right questions. And you got to take the emotions off the table. You have to basically say, look, I'm here to try to understand what's going on. I'm here to create and build and maybe that's the best way to do it, is to sit down and have a custom plan designed for you, sitting with your financial advisor at the same time, and see how that plan was put together in the first place. That way you have the best way to try to understand it, because you saw it being built. Okay? I remember one time when I was a kid, I had a 48 Chev, and I blew a piston out, and I I had to get it fixed, and I watched them rebuild my engine. I learned more about that. I was fascinated watching them do that. Okay? So you start to understand things like that. That's what it's all about. So how does your financial advisor, you sit down with your advisor, I don't know how often you do that because that's the last step in the process. The last step in the process is what does the review process look like? How frequently, how often should it be done, and so on. What happens? It's called rebalancing, whatever. So when you sit down with your financial advisor, the question to ask is this. Why did you pick this fund? What's the beta on that fund? What's the Sharpe ratio on that fund? What's the alpha on that fund? How does it compare to the benchmark? And what benchmark did you use? Okay. And if the financial advisor stutters a little bit and has a problem answering those questions, maybe it's time to start looking around. Okay. See, check them out. Because I can tell you, you have a portfolio, I can tell you precisely. In fact, I got a written report that covers all of that stuff. Because return is important, but so is risk. You know, when you look at a portfolio that has an awesome rate of return, can you tell whether that rate of return is because the advisor was lucky or skilled? Okay. And what ratio do you use to determine that? It's called the Sortino ratio. And the one with the higher number indicates the skill of the investment advisor. So if one has a Sortino ratio of 2 and the other has a Sortino ratio of 1, the 2 is the better number. That confirms that that high rate of return was because of skill and not luck. Because some advisors could go out and just put their investors into really risky investments, and they might get lucky and do well. And then you're going to tell all your friends, well, Joe there, he's the Wizard of Wall Street. He got me 14% last year. It may not mean anything if it was done with using excessive risk. So how do you balance all that? So there's ways to, as I said earlier, that Peter Drucker, Dean of Modern Business Management, says, if you can't measure it, you can't manage it. So these ratios are ways to measure. They're like yardsticks. So you're out there, you're listening to the show, and you may have a financial plan. You may not. You may have a financial plan, you might not understand it. You may have a financial plan, but you just want to confirm it, that it's the right plan for you. All this adds up to a second opinion. It's free. There's no cost. You get that by making a phone call. The number to call is area code 604-280-0650. 280-0650. Long distance 1-877-280-0650. Frida's down at the office for those who are shy, reluctant to talk on the air for any reason whatsoever. Area code 604-737-3512. Long distance 1-800-661-1495. I'd like to get to meet you. Make an appointment. Come on in. We have a parking place for you. Might even give you a free dinner at the Cactus Club right next door. Make a phone call. You got everything to gain and nothing to lose. And remember, the longest journey begins with the first step. Get your financial future going today by doing that. That way you're going to be able to go home at night, tuck yourself into bed, close your eyes and have a real sound sleep, and not be worrying about your investments, not be worrying about your financial future. We have to go to the break. When we come back, we'll continue talking about what people have financially in common. Don't go away.
Fred Snyder.
Do you have a GPS? I do. I have one in my boat. I have one in my car. I get in my car, I can turn the GPS on, put an address in, it'll tell me exactly how to get there. When I'm in my boat, I can say I want to go to Anvil Island, and my boat will take me right there every time. Wouldn't it be nice to have a financial plan that would do the same thing?
Fred Snyder.
When you sit down with a financial advisor such as myself, I have to determine the level of risk that you need to take and the level of risk that you're able to take and the level of risk that you want to take and the way to get the best return on your investments. That's what your financial plan is all about.
Fred Snyder.
I just really appreciate and honor what you do every week for people, is giving them financial knowledge. So I'm just really happy about that. Just keep on doing the awesome work, Fred.
Fred Snyder.
So three kinds of people: those who really don't have a plan, they're just kind of starting out; those who are on the way; and those who feel they're already there. The three types of people. And those who are already there, maybe you need to get a second opinion on that portfolio, that you have to make sure that it's the right one, or maybe you have to tweak the plan itself. That's what we're talking about. If you fall into any of those categories, time to make a phone call.
Call Fred. Listen to Fred. Fred Snyder. Sunday mornings 9 to 11 on CIL 650. This is CISL Vancouver. Smooth and easy. CIL 650. You're listening to It's Your Money on CIL 650. Once again, here is Fred Snyder.
Okay, we're back. We're live. Interactive is the word. And we're taking your calls. And we're here at this same time, same station, every Sunday, 9 to 11. And it's really about your money and how to keep it. Take your calls. The number to call is 604-737-3512. 604-737-3512. That's Frida down at the office. Area code 1-800-661-1495. If you want to be live on the show, 604-280-0650 or 877-280-0650. Again, we're talking about your money and how to keep it. How to keep it is the key phrase. Ask yourself this question: how long have I worked? How much money have I made so far during my working career? How much of that do I have left today? And am I happy with the answers? And the chances are you're not. And the reason that you're not happy with the answers is because of lack of a plan or the motivation to get one. So again, we talk about Henry Ford, and we talk about the fact that you have a circle of people to support you when you need information, called the mastermind. And Henry Ford, on his desk, used to have 15 buttons. Now, this man only had 6 years of school. One of the most successful men in America at the time. 6 years of school. And he said, when I need information, I push the button. I want my accountant. My accountant comes in. I get the information I want. I need legal information. I have one that says lawyer. I push that button. My lawyer comes in. I get the information that I want, and so on. 16 buttons. And it struck me as I'm reading Think and Grow Rich, because it's in the book. As I'm reading this, I'm thinking, well, that's Google today. You got the mastermind right now, because you're surrounded by experts throughout the globe. You don't even have to meet them personally. Push a button, you can get any information you want. You can get it on your iPhone. Any information you want. So really, success isn't so much about having information between your ears. It's about how to get it, how to find it, how to use it, how to develop it. Your mind has two parts, the conscious mind and the subconscious mind. The conscious mind is like your processor. That's your computer. Your subconscious mind is your hard drive where information is stored. We never forget anything. We just don't know how to remember it sometimes, but we never forget anything. So all you got to do is find a way to hook that information and be able to recall it. But if you have a laptop computer, you have an iPhone, you have an iPad, any kind of a device like that, you have access to a world of information. And if you're computer illiterate, as a lot of people are, I suggest that become part of your learning process. So in terms of the second tab, the educational process, maybe part of that is to become more computer literate than I already am. Randy Reynolds, good friend of mine in the business, I asked him one time, I said, what do you think the secret of financial knowledge is? He said, the internet. It is. It's all there. Every financial institution has software which will do a financial plan for you. You can do your own. Now, am I putting myself out of work by saying that? I don't think so. Okay? Every financial institution has tools that you can go to access that. You have a particular mutual fund in your portfolio that you're wondering about this particular fund. Should I have this fund? Should I get rid of it? Should I do something about it? Look it up. Google it. Doesn't matter what it is. I had a fellow come into my office last week, and he's talking about a certain class of investment funds that I didn't know anything about, I must admit. So I said, well, I got to find out more about these funds. I spent a day writing a newsletter on them. That's how you learn. So, and in the same process, I get better and better and better at using programs like Microsoft Word. Unbelievable what you can do with it. So I just write a newsletter. That might not be a bad idea for yourself. Let's suppose, for example, that you decide that you want a financial plan, but you don't want to use a financial advisor like myself to get one. Okay, Google it. Go into Google, type in financial plan. Now you're going to get all kinds of information on financial plans. Open up Word, separate window, and you find information on financial plans. You cut and paste and put it in the separate window. You crunch some numbers. You say, well, okay, I want to retire with $40,000 a year when I'm 65. I have $50,000 right now. I assume a rate of return is 7%. Inflation is 3%. How much do I have to put away to do that? And it'll give you a spreadsheet which gives all the numbers. Cut and paste that into your Word document. And on and on and on. You want to find out how much life insurance you need? You type into Google, how much life insurance do I need? Google will give you all kinds of answers to that. You can sort that one out, cut and paste that information into your Word document. And on and on and on. You go through the whole process that way, and you develop a financial plan. You might want to type into Google, what is the best mutual fund that's out there? Or what is the best segregated fund? Or what's the best stock? Or Google, give me a list of the 10 best stocks. I can do that right now without even typing it. Just pick up the phone and just push Siri. Siri, what are the 10 best stocks? Okay? Doesn't matter what it is. We are so fortunate today in the world that we live in. We got so many good things going, it's awesome, and so many bad things at the same time. It's getting complicated and scary, maybe too many people. So ladies and gentlemen, listeners out there, 604-280-0650, long distance 1-877-280-0650. Log on, www.CIL650.com, free to down at the office at area code 604-737-3512, long distance 1-800-661-1495. I'm going to take a brief break, so we'll be back after these messages. Don't go away.
Fred Snyder.
Statistically, if you take 100 people who start out equal today at the age of 25, by the time they end up at 65, 1 is wealthy, 4 are well-to-do, 5 are still working, 36 are dead, and the rest are dead broke, dependent on family and state. That's over half the people who start at equal at age 25 by the time they end up at 65 are dependent on family and state. And that's a sad state of statistics.
Fred Snyder.
You need a blueprint that says this is where you're at right now, and this is where you want to go, and this is the way to get there.
Fred Snyder.
So isn't it time to get that good, warm, fuzzy feeling because you know exactly where you're at? You know that your investments are going to work for you. You know that you have the right investments inside your financial plan. You're confident about the future because you've covered all the bases. You know exactly how much life insurance you need, and you have the right amount of insurance. You have a financial advisor, such as myself, or somebody that's equally competent that you can check with to determine whether you're on track or not. And And whether you're on track or not, I'd like to use the analogy, do you have a GPS?
Fred's got your GPS. Talk to Fred. Listen to Fred. Fred Snyder. Sunday mornings 9 to 11 on CIL 650. Welcome back to It's Your Money on CIL 650. If you have a question for Fred, call 604-280-0650. Now back to Fred.
Okay, we're back. We're live. We're interactive. And again, we're taking your calls. We're talking about your money and how to keep it. Wouldn't it be nice if everybody could be financially successful? It'd be terrific. But we're not. But what is financial success? You could ask 100 people to define it, and you get 100 different answers. Some would say that it's a comfortable retirement. Some would say it's spending Christmas with the kids, social acceptance into the most exclusive club in town. The list is endless. But we all have common objectives. Might be a bigger house. Might be the ability to travel the world. Might be having a portfolio of investments that's worth $2, $3, $4, $5 million. But you get different answers. That's the key. It's like love and marriage is different thing to different people. They go hand in hand, but it's not always the same. So you have to start with your own personal definition of what is financial success to me. And who can I get to help me? I'd like to suggest myself. So if you want to sit down and define 5 or 6 well-defined financial goals that are realistic and suit your particular set of circumstances, I'm a good person to talk to. 604-280-0650. Long distance, 1-877-280-0650. Frida down at the office, 604-737-3512. Long distance, 1-800-661-1495. Now, if you want a complimentary written financial plan, custom made for yourself, you want a second opinion on your investment portfolio, an x-ray of what you got right now compared to a proposed replacement. You want that? The way you get that is to call Frida. 604-737-3512. She's down there right now waiting for your call. If you're out of the area, you're long distance, you're over on the island or whatever, 1-800-661-1495. So once again, maybe it's time to take a serious look at your investment portfolio. Is it going to do the job? Is it going to do the job? And you got to find that out before it's too late. Because if you wait until that program fails, you don't have enough time to fix it. So, phone call, once again, 604-280-0650. We talk about the word motivation. I go back to that word, and I see it clearly in front of me. 2 words, motive and action. So nothing takes place. Action doesn't take place without a motive. The first thing a detective, when somebody gets murdered, looks for, what was the motive? Okay? Motive and action. Motive is a goal. So without goals, there won't be any action. Zig Ziglar, one of the greatest motivational speakers that I ever listened to, used to say, are you a meaningful specific, or a wandering generality? Well, meaningful specific means you have specific, well-defined goals. So what are some of the goals that you would like to have? Well, you own your own house. Are you going to tell me you wouldn't want to have a nicer house? A bigger house? So what has to happen for you to have a nicer and a bigger house? Well, maybe you need to make more money because the expenses of the bigger house are going to be greater than the smaller house. That's one thing that you have to learn. So maybe you need a new job. Maybe. Maybe not. What's this house look like? Where are you going to get the money to buy it? You're going to get that from your TFSA, your RRSP? Or maybe that's a separate nest egg that you grow money for. Can you see this house? Or maybe you don't even want this house. Maybe you want a place in a warm climate. on the beach in Hawaii. Or maybe you want a nice chalet at Whistler. Doesn't matter what it is. You can dream a little bit. But how do you establish these goals? What must you do to get there? You have to believe you can achieve them, or you won't be motivated to even try. So they got to be achievable. And that's what financial advisors are all about. That's what people like me do. I sit down with people. One of the first questions I ask is this: do you have any well-defined financial goals? And when people usually react to that, they say, duh, what do you mean? No, I don't. Well, how can you measure what you're doing? How can you score when you haven't got a goal? I mean, can you imagine a bunch of hockey players out skating around the rink with no nets? They don't know why they're out there. Or there's a big football game up today. What if there's no goalposts? And the referee said, well, just grab the ball and run around with it. I mean, that's what happens. I see it all the time. I see it all, and it's frustrating. So here you are. You have this fabulous income. Maybe you make $100,000 a year. Your take-home pay is substantial. And on payday, you're broke. Nothing left over. What's the problem? Well, it could be a lot of things, but it probably is you don't have a budget. The money just kind of slips away. It falls through the cracks. You analyze that situation, you find out this guy goes out for lunch every day. Instead of taking a brown paper bag, the sandwich in it to work, goes out for lunch every day. Has a couple of coffee breaks at Starbucks. Spends $10,000 a year on vacations and cruises and stuff. Lives too high because there's no relationship between the income and the expenses. And there has to be. So you have to say to yourself, this is my income. What standard of living will my income support? So you got to define that standard of living within those parameters, or you're going to fail financially. So we talked about the financial planning process. So once again, the first step in the financial plan is to establish your goals. One of them probably being education. The second step is the educational process. The third step is the cash management. How do I manage my cash? How do I make sure I have a surplus all the time? The next step is debt management. How do I get rid of all my bad debt? That's debt that's not tax deductible. The next step is retirement planning. The next step is capital creation. That's like your TFSA and all that stuff. The next step is estate planning, your legacy, and the last step is the review process. I think that's 10. Okay, so you got a book. In that book, you got 10 tabs. Those are the tabs. And you make that the hub. You make that the center of your financial well-being. You sit down with your financial advisor frequently and you review that. You make sure that that plan is not sitting on the shelf gathering dust, because it happens too often. And you have to motivate yourself. You know, like, I don't know. I can't spend too much time talking about this. If you have trouble with motivation, get the book Think and Grow Rich. Read it. Get the book Think and Grow Rich. Read it. Get the workbook that comes along with it. Fill in the blanks. If you call myself, I'll get you one. That's all you have to do. So 604-737-3512. That's free to down at the office. Long distance 1-800-661-1495. Live on the air 604-280-0650. Long distance 877-280-0650. Just tune in. I'm certified financial planner Fred Snyder, also registered financial planner representing Scotia Wealth Management. That's a new name. Note that one. Not Scotia McLeod anymore. And that's our new banner. And we're dedicating what we do to financial planning, not just investments themselves. The whole wealth management process. That's what it's all about. So you may be out there right now and you're saying to yourself, well, I don't know, I don't have any money. Maybe I'm wasting my time. Well, make a phone call, find out. That's not a big investment of time. I want you to think, it cost me, I took a course, I guess this is 30 years ago, but it's not out of date. I took a course on goal setting. And it says to achieve anything. Now this is anything. It's not just money. But to achieve anything. Doesn't matter what it is. I might want better health. I might want more wealth. I might want to increase my knowledge. Doesn't matter what it is. Body, mind, soul, social, family life, any goals across those areas. The first thing that you have to do is crystallize your thinking. Crystallize your thinking. That means you got to develop specific, well-defined goals that you can visualize. Number one, crystallize your thinking. Number two, develop written plans with deadlines. So when I talk about a financial plan, I'm being narrow in scope. But you might want to get better health, so you can have a health plan. It would be the same thing. You develop a written plan with deadlines. Lose a pound a week. That could be part of the plan. Count your calories could be part of the plan. Doesn't matter what it is. So you develop written plans and deadlines. So when we talk about money, written plan with deadlines. How do you get that? Call Snyder. Call Frida. Okay? The next step is kindle desire. We talked about the burning desire from Napoleon Hill's book. Same thing. Kindle desire. You got to have a burning desire. The word kindle means you light a fire under it. You visualize that by putting all the sounds and feel and everything else into the picture. And you visualize the picture. Lying on the beach, whatever it might be. The next step is to develop confidence. You have to believe you can. So how do you believe you can get yourself that beautiful cottage on the beach in Hawaii? How do you believe you can? Well, you might have to work on that a bit, okay? Maybe you got to increase your income. But you got to believe it. If you can't convince yourself that you can achieve it, then discard the goal, okay? Because if you don't believe you can achieve it, there's no point. You will never put forth the effort that's required to achieve that goal. You won't do it. You got to believe you can. And the last one is the most important one of all. You have the iron-willed determination to follow your plan, regardless of circumstances, criticism, or what other people say, think, or do. You do not bend to other people. These are your goals, not other people's. You become dogmatic, become a bulldog. You're going to follow that plan regardless. Nobody's going to get in the way. You're going to be a Sherman tank. Don't get in my way. Like Larry the Cable Guy says, get her done. And it's true. Zig Ziglar says, are you a wandering generality or a meaningful specific? This is how you become a meaningful specific. So ask yourself the question, do I have a proper financial plan? Am I doing everything that I can to make sure that I have a proper financial plan? Am I doing everything that I can to optimize, to effectively have a proper financial plan? Am I on track to achieve my objectives, or am I on track to fail? Like I said earlier, visualize yourself down the road. 65, at or near retirement, you're looking at your circumstances, and they look pretty good. How do you feel? Feel pretty good. You know where you're at. You feel pretty good. On the other hand, put your hands in your pockets, turn them inside out, and there's nothing there. Empty pockets, you're broke. How do you feel? And remember one thing today, you're standing there looking at yourself in the mirror, and you have control of what you look like in the future. You can see your financial future, and you make that decision right now based on what you do right now. And I say it again, maybe it starts with a proper financial plan. And the way you do that, make a phone call. 604-737-3512. Long distance, 1-800-661-1495. You want to talk in our remaining minutes? We have a few left. 604-280-0650. Calling long distance is 1-877-280-0650. Talking about your money, more importantly about your money and how to keep it. And I think the main reason why people fail financially is they do not have a written financial plan. They don't have one. But it's not, financial plan is important as it is, it's still not everything. You got to have the desire. You got to want to. So where do you get that? Well, give me a call. Let's start right there. So make an appointment. Give Frida a call down at the office right now. 604-280-0650. That's the station. Long distance, 1-877-280-0650. Frida down at the office. 604. This is the most important number of all. 604-737-3512. Long distance, 1-800-661-1495. So in our remaining moments, any calls that you have, we'll be happy to take them. And again, we talked today about what do we all have in common. So I'll quickly review that. We have a lot of people that are out there listening to the show right now that don't have a financial plan. They're a wandering generality. Lots of them. If they have a plan, they don't understand it. And they may have a plan, they may even be wealthy right now, but they're not sure they're on the right track and they want to confirm it. I work as a financial generalist, and I work with financial specialists. I have people like Timothy Lack, who's a lawyer that does estate planning with me. I have Jamie Newen with Davidson and Company, who's a chartered accountant. I have Fern Northcott, who's on this radio show, real estate expert. I have all kinds of experts that I work with in all kinds of areas. And I can turn to these people when I need specific information. So you're out there, you're listening to the show right now, and you want an appointment to see myself, the best way to do that is to give Frida a call. You can reach Frida right now, area code 604-737-3512. We want a quote on your life insurance. We have Jamie Lee Halliburta, who is an expert on life insurance. Now, that's beside the point that I have a full life insurance license myself, but I work with experts. Okay? So again, think of me when you go to the doctor, you go to the general practitioner who refers you to specialists. If you have a headache, he'll send you to a brain surgeon, maybe. Okay? Doesn't matter what it is. So I have my own mastermind group, just like Henry Ford. Okay? So again, it was really so clear. He's got his desk, he's got all these buttons on his desk, he just pushes a button, he gets any information he wants, doesn't carry it around in his head. So again, you know, the book Think and Grow Rich is a great book to get. And I would suggest if you don't have it and you've never read it, it's a free download. You got Google? Download it. Just Google Think and Grow Rich. They'll download that in PDF file, and you can read it. I have it right now on my iPhone. iPhone is right here. I want to read that book anytime. I can look it up on my iPhone and sit and read it. Greatest salesman in the world, Og Mandino. Great stuff in there. But remember one thing, the key to success is to motivate yourself, and the best way to do that is by way of affirmations and being able to visualize what you want to achieve. We have to go. See you same time, same station next week. Bye for now.
If you'd like Fred to review your portfolio, call his office right now at 604-737-3512. That's 604-737-3512.